Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building a Tiger kit from Ryefield Model. This came out about 4 or 5 months ago, so it's a relatively new kit. Has a little bit of internal detail in it that we'll be able to build up, but not crazy like the Tacom one that we just did recently. This kit consists of about 1,600 parts, but before you get scared off by that, be aware that majority of them, probably about 1,000 of them, are the track parts. And that's because the way the track parts were made up is the tracks have two horns that have to be glued on, and then the individual pins that plug into the side. We're going to avoid that portion of the build because we're actually going to use a set of Friulmodel tracks for the Tiger one that I have. I actually have a couple sets left over that I'm wanting to put on a Tiger, so I thought this is a perfect opportunity to use those. We'll show you how those go together on a Tiger. They're great because they add a lot of weight to the vehicle, and there's that natural sag of the metal. It can't be beat when it comes to one of these kits. So let's get started on it. First thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Canyon State Model Con 2. This is a model show contest and swap meet that I'll be hosting this February 25th, 2017. It's in the Phoenix, Arizona area. We are going to have over 25 distinct categories from armor, aircraft, cars, sci-fi, ships, figures, lots and lots of categories to enter. And this is going to be a builder's choice contest, which means there are no judges involved in this. What that means is that if you enter the contest with a model kit, you will be giving a ballot, and the ballot will have all of the different categories on it, from armor, aircraft, everything like I said earlier, and you get to vote on everything, and you get to vote on what you think is the best model. So that's why there's no politics involved. It's just a great afternoon. So if you live in the Phoenix area or any of the neighboring states, last year we had people from Colorado, California, and New Mexico make the trip out. I'd like to invite everybody out for a great day of modeling fun. Okay, as I start this kit, I want to point out something to you. In step one, you start building the turret before anything else. You'll notice that on this turret, they're showing that it has the pistol port. But then when you go down to step two, the pistol port is suddenly turned into the escape hatch. So at this point, and they do give you both sides, they give you two of the right-hand sides, so you just have to decide which one you want to use, either the pistol port or the escape hatch. I'm going to go ahead and use the one with the escape hatch on this particular build. Okay, as we go forward, I want to give you another little tip. As you look at the instructions right here, you see that there's a crease in the turret here, and that's where the turret starts to slope down. And they want you to put this little protector for what would be a vision port. But if you follow the instructions right here, it shows the vision port going right on the crease. Now, on the actual turret itself, there is nothing on the turret at all. It's just the crease here. Now, you see that little white dot? That's starting to come through, and I wanted to hold off doing that before I showed you, because if you look at the next page of the instructions, the actual vision port is all the way forward of the crease. When you flip the turret over, there is a little area inside here. Hopefully you can see that if you drill those two little holes out, it will put the little vision port protector in the right spot. So don't follow the instructions right on the very first page, because you'll end up putting it in the wrong spot. The escape hatch is also workable on this kit, so you just can drop that into place, keeping the glue off the hatch itself, but just on the base down here. You'll be able to put the piece right over on top there, and once that sets up, the hatch will be able to be open and closed. The turret has a lot of nice little intricate parts to give it some nice detail. One little minor thing, as I was cutting off most of the grab handles, I noticed they're molded very, very close to the sprue. So in this case, that's why you want to hold on to your brass wire that comes with your Friulmodel track, because you can make like a billion grab handles with that. And just using a pair of needle nose, I did use these, and they worked out to be about the third little tooth back. Makes a perfect grab handle for this scale. So we're gonna gradually put all these parts in here. Like I said, this little piece had actually 3 parts to go together on it, so built that off camera. That's gonna drop into there. And this hatch is workable too, that if it has the little bumper and things on it, that if we want to make it work, we can. Probably just going to glue it in the upright position, because we might put a figure inside of this. We'll see on that. Maybe for now we'll just leave it down. It'll actually lock into place, and then we put this little piece across the back. And before we forget about this part, your other pistol port goes right here. And then your hatch will drop right into place. Okay, we've finished off the turret, and now we're going to start working on the main part of the body. The body itself is a bathtub style hull, and because it has the actual individual torsion bars, they've given you all this area in here already molded in. What I like about that is it's made it really, really rigid, so it really feels firm and shouldn't have any warpage at all inside of it. So now we're just going to go ahead and start putting some of these pieces on. Now the torsion bars have a little tab that if you want to keep it so the torsion bars don't actually work, you can lock them right into place like that, and they won't move at all. If you want to, you can cut that little tab off, and then you would actually have truly working suspension on this. But I don't want any of that. I want it all to be fixed into place. So we're going to go ahead and start gluing all these little pieces on. As I start to put the wheels and the drive sprocket on things, like one thing I'll show you on this is these all have a nice taper to it, and so do the inside of the wheel. So the wheel only fits on one way, and it fits on really tight. So it feels real good compared to some of the other Tigers as I build on the market. And you know, you're gonna glue it down anyway, but it's nice to know that it'll just slide in just one direction, so you make sure you always have it going the right way. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I was going to go ahead, because it is a Tiger kit, I'm going to use the Friulmodel tracks on it. And for any of you that are not familiar with Friulmodel tracks are metal tracks that are designed, and the nicest part, because they are metal, they have a lot of weight to them. So they have a natural sag that's really hard to duplicate sometimes with rubber bands, but nothing I think looks better on this. They are a little expensive, and you have to get them from Hungary, at least over in the United States. But if you can get a hold of them, I would definitely recommend them. Now I'm going to show you some basics. Friulmodel tracks give you a big spool of wire inside of it, but I like using staples. And the reason I like using staples are because staples are square, so when they go inside the round hole, they wedge in there nicely, and you don't have to worry about super gluing the end in. So the first thing I'll show you is I like to take just a little thing of staples, maybe about 25, 30 of them, and just taking a pair of needle nose, just bend the staples out till you get into an L shape like this right here, which I've already done a couple of them. And then you individually, you can just lay them down on the thing and just taking your X-Acto knife, just one by one, splitting them off. And if you take a little bit of time in the beginning and just split all these off, once you have them on, they'll go together very easily. Just line them up right here, get them together, and most of the time they'll just squeeze right on in, and that's the nice part about leaving that L shape right there, is you don't have to poke your finger through. And then when you get to the very end, just take your needle nose again and just push it the rest of the way in. And with your cutters here, just give it a little nip on the end. Whoop, pull it out, but wedge that back inside there, and that piece is ready to go. And takes probably about maybe about 2 hours to knock off a whole side of track. You will probably need to have a pin vise ready to go, because every once in a while you'll get one that's not hollowed all the way through, and it's sometimes hard to push the staple through. It's kind of rare, but have that ready just in case. So like I said, for 2 hours worth of work on it, you're going to get just a beautiful, beautiful set of tracks. And the little pin side will always go on the inside of the vehicle, so you won't worry about seeing that, because the outside is already finished off. So I'm going to go ahead and knock the rest of these tracks out. There's about 97 links per side, so we're almost done with this side right here, and then we'll do the both, and then I'll show you how to paint them and weather them. I just went ahead and finished up the bottom of the run of tracks, and the very last track, you can see I left the actual L shape of the staple in here. The benefit of that is you can pull this out anytime you want, take the tracks apart, and it'll make it much easier getting on and off the vehicle. This way you know what you have, you can paint them up, do all your weathering, and just pop it right back on. And this you can either at the very end just cut the very L off, or just leave it underneath there if you ever want to take the tracks off again. I test fitted the tracks, and the 97 links work really well from Friulmodel on this kit. They are a little tight around the sprocket, which I have to, you have to force around here, but it won't be impossible to do. I'm not going to worry about doing it now because we still have a lot of painting and things on that. Also, I'll point out to you, this kit also comes with a complete set of the rubber road wheels as well. So you get 2 complete sets of road wheels. You can either do the rubber road wheels or the steel wheels that we've done on our kit that we're doing right now. Okay, as I start to finish up the back here, I had a little bit of difficulty attaching the rear plate here. A little tight in some areas, and didn't want to force it too much, but was able to get it in there. I will have to do a little cleanup work right around the seam right here. We'll put a little putty on it and then fill it and sand it down. Hopefully all this other stuff will go on fine. Yeah, and that looks like it's going to line right up on it. So it was just a minor thing. It may have been just the way I had originally did some of the construction on it, but just be aware of it as you go forward. And it was mainly having to do with those little bumps, those little tiny separate pieces that we put on right there. It seemed to want to be a little bit in the way. So when you go to put those on, I might even advise you just to leave them off until you're ready to put the back plate on. That way you won't have any difficulty attaching it and save you a little aggravation. Okay, in this portion of the build, as we start to build the upper part of the hull, it's required that you drill out quite a few holes on the back of the kit here, and that's for putting all the tools on. You also have individual grates here that are designed to actually be workable. I'm actually just going to glue them into place. I don't need it to be working or anything. We're not going to put any type of radiators or engine inside any of this, so we're just going to glue it all straight down. All the parts look like I've dry fitted everything fits really well. So let's go ahead and put all the parts on the upper part of the hull. Next, we're going to assemble the tow cables here. One weird thing though, the instructions show it to be 45 millimeters. Well, 45 millimeters is only about 1 3/4 inches, so I don't know what the heck that is supposed to be, but I've come up with about 9 inches worth of cable to put in. Now, it does look really nice having it's a nice soft copper, so it's easily pliable, so we'll be able to build these up pretty quickly. We'll see how easily it's going to wrap around into the right angles on the back of the deck when we try to put that onto here, but I'm going to go ahead and glue these up and then see what we can come up with. The photo etch that is included with the kit is very, very nice. It's very thin, has a nice little pattern cut into it. In fact, recommendation is to lay it all out because there is a top and a bottom to the photo etch. The top has a interlaced pattern to it, so you want to make sure you get all those going rather than putting it up the wrong way. And it was actually very easy to sand off the little burr after we cut it off the sprue. So just put a tiny little bit of super glue all around the edge here, and then lay down this, because we're gonna have to do this portion before we can work on doing the tow cables, because they actually go over the top of it. So we're gonna lay all of this down, and rather than make you watch me put all of them on, you get the idea on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and glue all these down, and then we'll work on the tow cable some more. Okay, now that we have the tracks all assembled, we're going to give them the first base coat of using NATO Black. And we're going to completely saturate and cover the entire piece of track. Okay, while we have the blackout doing the tracks, we're going to give it a shadow coat to the body. I've done some touch up with some putty and things like that around here, so we want to see what we need to be sanded and what looks really good. So we'll just spray the entire thing with the black to get it a nice shadow coat, and it also see all of our flaws. I let the first coat of the black dry on the tracks. After that dried, I went and sprayed it with a layer of dull coat. And the reason you want to do that is because the paint will come off very easily off the metal tracks. The dull coat will help seal it in quite a bit. And then I went and slightly touched up over them with a little bit more black just to get them a more even coat. Now we're going to take some of our color that looks kind of like the chipping color. This is a mixture of 40% NATO black, 50% NATO brown, and 10% red. And we're just going to give the tracks a light mist coat to kind of give them kind of a tarnish color so they're not just so stark black. I've gone ahead and touched up where I needed to on it with the black. I also put some of the cabling on the side here that we're going to go ahead and use. And now we're going to spray it with a base coat of XF60. Okay, the group Furman Tigers represent kind of an unusual type of unit. They were actually 6 Tigers and 5 Panthers that were taken from a training school for tankers, and that's why they're kind of older vehicles. This one represents a early Tiger 1 with the drum cupola, and then of course they had changed it out to steel wheels. The Feifel air cleaners are gone, the shrouds in the back are gone, the side fenders were gone. So it's just kind of like a mixture of different types of tanks because it was a training school. They didn't have the most up-to-date vehicles. So the camouflage we're going to do is just going to be real mild. We're going to use the NATO Green XF67 and just do some mild camouflaging on it according to the color instructions. It just had a very, very slight amount on it. Now we're going to do the same thing with the brown color. This is about the color that we're looking to get with the brownish color sprayed on it. And it kind of gives you a little bit of an oxidized color, but it makes a nice base coat. So now using the Vallejo Desert Dust as our fixer, we've mixed it in a little cap here with a little water to kind of thin it out a little bit. We're going to just start applying it into all the crevices of the track. You want it to be kind of wet. Make sure you've got good coverage. And you don't want to do too much at a time because you don't want too much of it drying up on you. Just do probably like maybe 10-15 tracks at a time. Make sure we've got it all smeared into there. And then as our first coat, we're going to use our light sienna. And start applying. We're also going to add a little bit of the European earth too at the same time. Kind of blend it together as we go. And as you see, as it starts to dry, how the color changes. And we will do one final application of like a dark steel color on the very edges of those to brighten them up. But just kind of showing you quickly what we're looking for in this. Just going to mix it up right here on my board. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. And since we already have a mess going from weathering up the tracks, and while those dried, we're going to do the top of the road wheels, and we're going to use our polishing powder dipped in a little bit in the Q-tip, and just start going over the top edges and all the way around, because these are steel wheels. Before we do any more weathering, we want that metallic finish to start showing through. So go around all of the road wheels and get those all have a nice metallic color to them, and then when we do the weathering, that'll tone it down a little bit so it's not so bright. Let's kind of turn it from an angle here and you can start to see how it gets a nice metal finish inside there. So I'm going to finish that up and move on to the next step. Went ahead and I chose the F05 number on this one for a couple reasons. First of all, couldn't find a single picture anywhere of this particular tank, so however I paint it up and do it, not really many people are going to argue with the fact which one it is or not. So we will let that dry for a little while, and I like to usually put like a coat or two of microsol on it to make sure that the decal really softened down and gone into the paint. I decided not to put the tow cables on. I just put the brackets in place. After looking at the few pictures that are out there, most of them, actually all the pictures I saw, did not have the tow cables on it. So, like I said, I wouldn't put the brackets on. I haven't fully painted all of them yet. One other thing I want to point out to you too is the decals in this kit are extremely nice. I've only put just one little coat of microsol on it, and then just gave it a quick little shot with dull coat to seal it in, and the lines on the decals just completely disappeared. I'm very, very happy with the way the decals came out, and of course we'll weather them down because they're really bright right now, but very, very good decals on this kit. Okay, now we're going to begin our chipping, and using our foam, just our foam, packing foam, dipped in a little paint and then blotted. Most of the paint gets blotted out like on a paper towel. And we're just going to start to slowly start going over some of these high edges. And hopefully you can start to see how it starts to get a worn. Also using one of my fine brushes here, and we're just going to start putting a few little chips in certain areas and scratches. And here's like a little ridge right here that gets kind of beat up. And then we can actually go ahead and just put some real fine scratches from occasionally from here to there. I'm going on the assumption, because this was a training vehicle and rather old vehicle on top of that, that the vehicle would have been probably pretty beat up. Well, hopefully you can see really well too how the scratching and all the chipping has started to come out on here. Now I'm starting to go over the wheels with a brownish black wash. that we'll go over. It's been thinned down quite a bit, so then after we let that dry for a little bit, we'll go over it with a dry cotton swab and take it off any of the high points, so just so it stays in the recesses. And we're going to go over and do all of the road wheels, front and back. As you can see, I've started putting it inside of here, and do all the road wheels and some of the top panels as well that we want to really make pop out. And we're also just going to give it a mild mist coat of Tamiya's XF57 buff, just to kind of blend everything all together in there. Also, before I finish up with that too, I've also gone ahead and rusted the back using Vallejo pigments. I will put a little bit more of a wash onto that to kind of break it up a little bit, but right now we're still letting that dry. Well, here we go. Here's our final product. Really enjoyed building this Ryefield model. The kit went together really well. There was only some minor areas we had to use a little bit of putty, but nothing major at all, just like most kits. Fit was really tight on everything. Overall, I had a really good time building this kit. I would highly recommend building another Ryefield model. So I want to thank you as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have more videos coming.